Okay, I don't have my big camera with me, but I'm on a private road, so have a look at this. Driving the car this morning has been misfiring the whole time under load. Look at this. Okay, it's not doing it right. Let's see if it will do it again. You hear that? Running terribly. See if we can figure out what this is. Welcome back to Living with a Classic, and if you saw in the footage in the beginning, this thing was misfiring a bit, and the chickens are trying to overvoice me, but I don't really know what happened. So in the previous video, I replaced the alternator because it was overcharging, and it was only overcharging for maybe a minute in total. I tried it twice, 30 seconds, just to make sure that it was showing correctly on the gauge and grabbing the multimeter. Now it's charging as it should. Yesterday, I just drove it sort of up and down the road and around the block, so around my house, and washed it. And then I took the kids to daycare this morning. Ran fine on the way there. It was a tiny bit stumbly, but I thought, you know, it's been on choke a lot and things. I didn't think much of it. On the way home, it was misfiring. Almost felt like it was running out of fuel. It will idle fine, but the rest wasn't that great. So I pulled over and I went back and listened to the pump. That felt fine. Then I drove it just carefully because I wanted to get home, and then when I was pretty close to home, I filmed that thing for you guys and tried to give it some, and just you saw how it just wasn't running right. So I think maybe the high voltage there damaged the coil. I'm hoping it didn't damage my 123. I have a 123 Tune Plus in here. I read on their website again today that it is, you know, it's protected from spikes. So if it gets a dangerous amount of voltage for too long, it's just going to shut down. But the coil could definitely burn out. So I have just grabbed a spare coil I have laying around. I think it's supposed to have about a 1 or 1.5 ohm. I have a 1.5 ohm. That was a wrong coil for the XJ12, if you remember that. So I took that out, fit it here. This actually might be a little bit of a bad coil as well, but maybe we can see if it's better now. One thing I did do is when I came back after I filmed the first thing with you guys home, I just grabbed some breakfast and then I took it for a quick drive just to see how quickly it would start misfiring, and it was within 2 minutes. So now it's sort of the same thing. I put the other coil in there, I'll show that for you to you guys. Then we'll fire it up, let it idle a bit so everything gets nice and toasty, because you know, ignition issues usually with heat. And then we'll take that little drive and see if the misfire stops. So I just laid it down there, the spare coil. The other one is over there. We're not going to go far, so that's going to be fine. Let's see if it fires up. If it does, we'll close the bonnet and let it sit for a while and sort of heat soak and get really hot in there. I have a temperature reading on the distributor. It's on the app because it's a Bluetooth one, and it shows about 60 degrees on a hot day down there, so that is quite hot. But let's fire it up, see what happens, and then maybe go for a test drive. So hopefully it likes to fire into life. It should still be pretty hot from before because I just it's been off for maybe 10 minutes or so. Alright, that is a lot smoother than before. Let's see here, I'm going to start the app. We have the dashboard here. We're at 800 RPM idle. It's charging good, 13 point something volts. Temperature almost 60 degrees down there. So close the bonnet, I'll set up the camera and let's go for a little bit of drive. Let's see how it is in gear. It's pretty good. So we'll close that up and take it for a test drive and see if it still misfires. It's been idling here now for about 5 minutes and it is showing slightly over 60 degrees. We'll make everything exactly the same like before. I have the headlights on. There's a slight electrical draw. And yeah, it is showing 650 50 RPM now in gear, and so far so good. I just drove basically at the end of this road, and then I took a right, and right then when I took a right, I noticed that wasn't running well. And the good thing now, we've been idling for a bit. It's really hot today, so I mean, we're not overheating or anything, but we're, you know, pretty high on the temperature gauge, so that is good as well. Just maximum testing everything, but let's give it some throttle like before. It's pulling great. It did not even have the grunt before the one to downshift properly. We'll take a right here, and we do the exact same route, and if it's good, we'll come back, we'll connect up the other coil, the one that I think is bad. Oh, it was missing right there. It's doing it again. I really hope it hasn't damaged my distributor, this stupid overcharging alternator. These things are quite pricey. Yeah, not going too great. It is doing the exact same thing. Alright, let's limp it back. See, this coil could still be back. I think I removed it because it wasn't great. So, oh, come on. It's running terribly now. But I ohmed it out before I put it in. It was at 1.5 or 1.6, something like that. So it's within spec for what these ignition systems want. It says 6-cylinder engine, at least 1.5 ohms. Oh, bro, it's running worse than before. Or yeah, or pretty much the same. It's just probably it's hotter now. Alright, I'm going to limp it back, then I'm going to check if I have a regular points distributor, because we can just plop that in and see if it does anything, or if a friend of mine has one laying around, because I think I lent my spare distributor was in this car before. I've lent that to a friend, and I'll grab a spare coil. Oh, we're barely going to make it back. I'll grab a spare coil, and we're going to figure out what is going on. But the next update will probably be in a couple days. I need to get some parts, and well, I'm going to limp it back now. It is not a happy camper. So it's a couple days later, and we're going to try some more things. I had contact with 123, they're really good at customer support, and we talked about the issues and what happened with the overcharging. And he says, no, that shouldn't damage it. However, maybe the new alternator you have, or the used one you put on, maybe it's not putting out an even charge, because it's showing, 13.9, 14 volts, but you can get something apparently called, voltage peaks. So if it peaks really high, really fast, too fast for a multimeter to see, that will throw off the electronics in there, and it will shut off, because it almost felt like it was rev limiter shutting off. So the way to test if that's your issue is to remove the alternator belt, which you can do on an XJ6, because the water pump is driven by the power steering belt. So the alternator is removed. You do not leave the belt on and remove the cables that will break your alternator. So that's removed. Let's take it for a brief little drive with no charging, and let's just see if it runs as it should, because before, it was just misfiring from day one. So we have the original coil back on, the 123 coil. We have the 123 back on. Everything else, air filter box is off, but we can put that back on later. But let's fire it up, go for a little drive. I'm gonna let it warm up for a little bit, and then we'll take the exact same drive as before. It's been running now for a couple minutes, so we're starting to get temperature up, and it seems to be revving fine. voltage is low. Check turn the app as well, because of course we're not charging. We're at like 11 or something, so not the greatest, but we're not going far. Let's see, it's, yeah. But he said if it doesn't do what did before, he said it might not run great because you're not getting the full voltage and everything, but if it doesn't do the same thing as before, then you know that that's your issue. Let's see. It's I have the windows fully open. It's extremely hot today. Let's see. We'll take it to the exact same drive we took it on last time. Got some wildlife in the road. We'll see if it... Oh god, yeah, it still does it. Still misfiring. Okay. Yeah, you hear that? There's some weird stuff going on. I'm gonna try and limp it back. The next thing is, because I mean, it could still be a fuel issue. We don't know, but it feels ignition related. So next thing is I'm gonna put in a regular distributor in it. If that fixes the issue, we know that something has happened to the 123 and it's gotten damaged somehow. But they said they can fix it if something's wrong with it. So that's really good news. There's a little board inside and they can replace that. So I don't have the spare distributor because I lent that out to a friend. So I am gonna hunt for one, and I think I have another friend who has one. So I'm gonna see if I can get a hold of just a regular points distributor, put that in, and then I guess you'll see me in a couple days when I have that all installed, and we'll see if it's better. Because this, no, it's definitely not the alternator, but at least we tried. Well, it's actually close to 2 weeks later, and now I'm driving with a regular points distributor. It took a while because I borrowed one from a friend, and then we didn't have a distributor cap for it, so I had to order one. It's a regular 22D Lucas one, which came with this engine originally as the Series 1 engine in this car. So that's what I did, and I put the Lucas Sports coil on, and it seems to be running fine now. Actually, the last couple times I drove with the other distributor, it just kept getting worse and worse. It would backfire all the time, and I could barely even get it anyway. So I couldn't even get it up into my workshops. I had to do the work outside. So I think something has definitely gone wrong with my distributor. I have been in contact with 123, and I can send it to them, and they'll have a look at it and fix it. So I really do think that the issue was overcharging, and something went wrong. Electronics don't like weird voltage spikes, and just because I was seeing that it was up at 17, 18 doesn't mean that maybe for a little bit it was a lot higher than that. But I'm gonna drive it like this for a little bit. I'm gonna check with my friend if I can continue borrowing this distributor for a little bit and just see what the car does. See if it's another issue, because if it starts acting weirdly again, then we know something. But it's been fine now for a little bit. So before I send the other distributor off, because I think it's a very small chance there's something wrong with it. I think something else has happened. Hey, future Adam here. I realized while editing that the issue might have been two things. Maybe it was ignition, we don't know. I'm going to continue driving with the points. However, I realized the one thing I did right before this was wash the car. So I haven't gone out and checked yet, but maybe the drain was plugged or something. Maybe I got water in the fuel. So I'm wondering about that. The fuel's pretty low now, so I'm going to fill it up, full tank of V-Power, and I'm going to put in some additive to remove water from the fuel and see, because it's, when I got back, it was still sort of doing weird things. So to be continued with this whole video. So I'm also going to do an experiment probably where I put the 123 back and see if it's immediately bad or if it was something else. I'm also going to go put some fresh fuel in it. It's almost out of fuel. So I mean, it could be things, but the little bit I've just been running around here, it seems fine. But I'm going to continue driving it and update you guys. But I really don't want anyone to, bash 123 or anything. It has nothing to do with that. I had great customer service, and we don't even know if that is the issue yet. It could be something completely different. But it's leaning towards the ignition issue. It's running well now, but I'm going to continue driving it and we'll really take it from there. One thing I still need to do is the distributor is in and all that, but the coil is just, I'm just laying there sort of loosely. So that's something I need to do, put that in place. But otherwise, keeping temperature running well, charging. Oh yeah, put the alternator belt back on. So yeah, sometimes it's not the easiest to troubleshoot weird issues, but it's easy just to substitute some parts and try out. So this was an unknown distributor I didn't know anything about, but it had good points in it, a good condenser. I just grabbed a spare coil, and so far it seems good. It starts up very nicely, and seems to run nice and smoothly. But I'm going to continue trying this before sending it off to them and seeing how that goes. Anyways, if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up and share it with friends. If you're not already subscribed to the channel, please do subscribe to the channel. It really does help out a lot. Till next time, I'm Adam. This was Living with a Classic. I'll see you soon.